And Dr. Bernard, let me begin with you. And I of course, don't want to go anywhere near patient privacy issues, but what is it like for you to be in Indiana with the window soon closing there on the possibility of abortion, but it's still possible, and to get a phone call from another state like Ohio, where you have a 10-year-old rape victim who cannot get these services anymore in Ohio? What does it feel like on your end of that phone call?
It's incredibly difficult. And at the same time, something that we feel very strongly that we need to be able to provide this care for everyone, for every single person that we get a call about from any state all over the country. Literally people are working day and night to ensure that we have continued access to safe, legal abortion in every single state for every single patient.
You may soon be making some of those calls yourself. What do you expect to happen legally in Indiana in the future?
The legislature has signaled that they are planning to take severe restrictions on abortion within the next month. We anticipate potentially a complete abortion ban similar to what we're seeing, or even more restrictive than in Ohio. It's unclear yet if that will include exceptions, for example, for rape and incest. And then we will be in the same exact position, as you said, scrambling, trying to find care for the patients that we see, trying to take care of whomever we can within the letter of the law in Indiana, which is something that we don't yet know what that will look like. How far do we have to wait until their life is at risk? How long do we have to push it, and how close we're going to get to the brink of death for patients needing abortion care?
Professor Goodwin, we have discussed this possibility, you and I, on this program before. The only specific example we've ever had of it was your own personal experience of this as a child. But we've been anticipating these cases, and here it is. And of course, as you can tell us, this is the first of what will be many.
That's absolutely right. And we can't pause and think that this is the only one or the only girl that is suffering somehow, because the types of anti-abortion legislation that we see coming about not only do they not provide exceptions for rape or incest, but many of them seek to punish in some way the people who are closest to the individuals who would want to be able to be counseled about an abortion or to be able to get an abortion. And this is what makes this time incredibly frightening and important for us to think about the kinds of questions that you're lifting up. If we think about the Texas abortion ban, SB 8, it punishes individuals who might aid or abet a person in receiving an abortion. So what does that mean for the little girl who wants to tell her mother, an aunt, a teacher, or someone else who might counsel that girl about what her options are and where they can go? Those individuals could be punished. So these are questions not only about abortion, but also about the First Amendment, about the right to travel, and so much more that we should all be concerned about.
Some of these laws have a 6-week window where they do allow some abortion services for some patients. And Dr. Bernard, the story of this 10-year-old in Ohio was that this was 3 days after the 6-week window where she discovered this. How common is that? How practical is a 6-week window for people?
In essence, it's a complete abortion ban. There are very few people who, in fact, know and then can access the care within that 6-week window. The waiting periods, the travel, the childcare, the time off of work, all of these things add up. And there's no way that you can expect anyone, much less a young person, to be able to identify and get to care by 6 weeks pregnant. And we know particularly people who are young do face additional risks or consequences are more likely to present later, both because of difficulty identifying a pregnancy and fear, as you said, of the repercussions of that care.
And Professor Goodwin, when we're talking about 10-year-old rape victims, the ability to actually intervene in their cases has all sorts of legal baggage around it.
That's absolutely right. So let's be clear, none of this is easy. So imagine, which we don't have to, we have an example of a 10-year-old. That 10-year-old might actually be taken away from her family, might be in foster care or in a shelter. How does that 10-year-old navigate a legal system in her home state that allows her to be able to get the medical care that she needs, such that someone makes a call to another state? And then how does she get to that other state? Does a foster care person take her there? Does someone who's at the shelter where she's living, and there are children in foster care who live in shelters, do they get her to that other state? Who's the person that intervenes to provide that kind of support that this 10-year-old needs, not the least of which that there might be other kinds of legal entanglements in her home state? So these are not easy questions. And as we go forward, this is school break now, but what happens in the fall when children are in school? Very pragmatic questions need to be sorted out. And there are not answers that are coming from anti-abortion legislators who would see 10-year-olds become mothers.